Well, what you just witnessed, some people would consider to be a myth or a folk tale. With this Kenmore 158.16410 from my personal collection, I just went through 3 very thick layers of genuine cowhide. And I've said it a million times, going through it is the first step, but being able to deliver a stitch of that quality, of that consistency, with the spacing, the formation, is nothing short of spectacular. And you might say to yourself, well, okay, we can see the 3 layers, we heard the pretty music at the beginning. What's the deal with the music, Scott? Well, this Kenmore, like the other Kenmore I recently introduced, was post-World War II and came from the beautiful country of Japan. And this machine I bought a number of years ago from the original owner. It was actually purchased from the daughter of the mother who bought it originally. And she sadly passed away shortly after getting this machine, and only got about, probably 6 months use out of the machine, if that. And there you can see that stamp again, just like on Craig's, where they branded it made in Japan, because again, it came post-World War II. If you're new to this channel, then you probably don't know that in our effort to help the Japanese after World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were utterly devastated. Hundreds of thousands of people ultimately died from that. That brought that horrible war to a conclusion, but it also devastated their economy. And in an effort to try to get them back on their feet, even though at one point we had called them an enemy, we stepped out and offered them a number of different things to assist them in rebuilding their economy, one of which was to give them designs and patents for a number of different sewing machines. And ultimately, where originally Kenmore was based in our country, it later shifted over to the Japanese, and right around the latter part of the 1950s, in that realm, they started manufacturing machines over there on behalf of Kenmore and a number of other machine makers. And this is one of those machines that came out of that effort. And it's ridiculously rugged when it comes to the way they engineered this machine. I was really quite kind of shocked, even in comparison to Craig's machine, just as to how spectacularly they had engineered quality into this 158.16410. Again, with Kenmores, you better be prepared to take a deep breath, because they are they possess a very long name, I guess is the most polite way to put it. Well, I just posted this on Facebook today, so those of you that are on YouTube and do not do the Facebook thing, what I basically said is that this is a 1959 1 amp Kenmore 158.16410 from my personal collection, and I'm going to be offering it for sale. It is for sale, and I've already gotten a couple of inquiries already, even with this only having gone live on Facebook just a couple of hours ago. I think it's just due to the fact that people are starting to get a clue when it comes to the incredible quality behind these Japanese-made Kenmores from the 1950s. I'm going to click on this and just kind of take you through some of the pictures that I posted. That obviously, let me make sure the camera's lined up. Yeah, not too bad. I'm starting to get the hang of this. So there's a picture, a frontal shot of this 158.16410. And the first thing that strikes me about it is the easy layout of the controls. And we'll look at that on the actual machine, not on the computer. But it really is an easy machine to navigate. I was really impressed. Also, compared to Craig's machine, remember me talking about how heavy it was, even in comparison to the 201-2? This machine is basically from cast aluminum. The majority of the machine, other than the inside gears and the drive portions that come off of the motor, the majority of the machine is aluminum. It's cast aluminum, so it's incredibly lightweight compared to Craig's machine, which I think is a huge advantage. It has nearly the size motor that Craig's did. This is a 1 amp compared to Craig's being a 1.3, but it's probably a good 30 pounds lighter. And if you're looking to take it to quilting classes, quilting retreats, it's just a real nice machine to tote around with very little effort. The clearance as well is, as you may have noticed in this launching sew-off that I did with these 3 layers of genuine cowhide. Again, we're talking probably 14 to 16 ounces of leather, and no difficulty at all in getting it under the presser foot. It was absolutely a breeze. And there you're looking inside of the faceplate. I'm just going to check my shot again. There you're looking inside of the faceplate. The light's easy to get to. It's tucked in the faceplate. Easy to remove if you have to replace it. Also, when you look inside of the faceplate, the ruggedness of the engineering on how that needle bar, the presser foot bar, and everything else in that realm is engineered really just impressed me significantly. This also is a free arm machine, so that the end of that machine there comes off if you need to do pant cuffs or other garments that would require that free arm. You're able to accomplish that on this machine. Plus it has a real cool little support foot. A lot of the free arms are kind of free floating, and you'll feel a little bit of a shimmy on them sometimes depending on the type of sewing you're doing. This one has a beautiful support leg on it that tucks underneath as well, so that you can sew heavy duty on it, and that bed is not going to move at all. So there's a shot of it with the free arm for also accessing the bobbin right there as well. Really cool foot control. I like it a lot. It's electronic in design, but its response is real steady. It does a spectacular job of helping you to regulate speed when it comes to sewing with this machine. That's a nomenclature plate that I may not be able to make big enough for you to read it, but what it's going to do is basically share the model number, serial number. It's going to tell you that right down here it was distributed through Sears and Roebuck USA, but made in Japan. And then it obviously on there as well tells you the motor size again, which is 1 amp. There's the right side of the machine. This is a real easy machine if you're winding a bobbin. To wind a bobbin, all you're going to do is just pull that balance wheel out, and then you can push it back in to resume sewing again. Back of the machine, again, this machine was barely used when I bought it from the original owner's daughter. It's amazing how clean the patina and paint is, and I also obviously did a real nice waxing on it as well to really bring that shine back. Here I'm going to take the top off and just show you some closer shots of the inside of that engineering, which is spectacular. It's obviously a cam style machine. Everything you see other than the cam itself is all forged steel. The drive shaft and everything is reinforced steel. The cam arm is steel. Everything is forged steel inside of this 158.16410. It's just amazing, the engineering. And I just found it cool. On the back of the machine, on the rear of the pillar, they have an emblem actually attached to the body of the machine. It's not a simple sticker that tells you the machine comes with a 25-year warranty when that original owner bought it. Now, very few brands, even Husqvarna's, come with a warranty that is that robust. So Kenmore really stood behind their product. That's just another shot of the rear of the machine. I think it's kind of a sexy machine. It's not just a squared off machine. It comes down and you've got like a curvaceous little bend on the rear of the pillar there, and it's just a real pretty looking machine in my opinion. And here I've gotten to a point where after I went through the 8.5 to 9 hours of going through and doing a deep cleaning, fine tuning, just all of the restorative steps that I take machines through, finally the proof is in the pudding when it comes to the stitch quality. And again, this one has a number of decorative stitches as well that we're going to sew off live today, and I just think they're gorgeous stitches. You know, if you're finishing off an edge to a quilt or doing some applique work, you're going to be able to create some beautiful pieces with very little effort because of the engineering from a cam output as far as this Kenmore. So, you know, again, just kind of walking around the machine real quick. We'll start on the bottom here. And this right here is going to be a control for obviously stitch length. Also, you'll notice on the far right side that there's a little red dot. It's kind of like a dot thing. You're going to be using that also when you access some of the cams on this machine as well. You'll move it to a setting down there. But it's got a wide stitch length, anything from about 6 stitches per inch all the way down to 30 stitches per inch. On the right side, you can see the reverse lever. You simply push it down and hold it down when you want to go in reverse, and then you release it when you want to resume sewing forward again. Now this top one is going to do a couple of things, and you know what? Kenmore wants to make it really user-friendly. So over here they kind of give you a hint. That top knob is going to be stitch width, and it's also going to allow you to access those special stitches as well. So it's going to have a couple of functions. And that's really, I mean, that's in essence it. I can go real quick over the top of the machine. Threading is also a breeze. Before that though, let me back up a little bit. Let me hit rewind, and over here is obviously your bobbin winder. You're going to put your bobbin there. You're going to run your, I'm going to come out a little bit so I don't have to blind myself. You're going to bring the thread around that tensioner right there, the one on top, and then you're going to come right back over to your bobbin that you're winding. When you push that in, that little lever on the front, it's going to engage the bobbin winder, and obviously you'll want to, again, as I had said when I was over on the computer, you'll want to make sure you pull that balance wheel out, which disengages the clutch. But what I was going to say is when that bobbin fills to a certain point, it's going to automatically disengage, which is really nice so that you don't overfill the bobbin. So coming off the top, we're going to kind of follow that thread through this guide right here. We're going to come straight down through the tension discs. We're going to come up through this take-up spring right here on the bottom, and then over that little thread guide right here that is right at the top of the upper tension. We're then going to come behind this thread guide right here, up to the take-up arm, all the way down here through that thread guide, and then we have another thread guide, actually, correction, we have 2 thread guides right there in proximity to the needle. The one on the left is the one that I chose, but you're going to have 2 because this machine is obviously capable of dual needle sewing. And then you're going to thread this machine from front to back, which you can't see because that big chunk of leather is right there. Again, I'm just in awe. I guess I shouldn't be, because you know how much I pour into machines, and I continue to go over machines that are in my personal collection. So this one has really gotten restored more than once as it's sat in my collection for a number of years. But those 3 layers of leather, I mean, it was just absolutely a breeze. I mean, the stitches, they speak for themselves. All right, so gab, 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 Scott, all the time, right, man? All right, so let me move that leather, and let's put the decorative side to this machine and give it a chance to show its stuff there. Okay? Make sure I've got a good shot on the needle. Looks like we do. All right, let me kind of lock it in place. Hopefully it doesn't move around or do anything funky. All right, so we're going to do a couple of decorative sew-offs, and you've already seen them if you go to Facebook. These are some of the sew-offs that I did right here, but I wanted to do a couple of them on this live premiere as well. And this is only a sampling. Again, with this machine, you're going to be able to access 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stitches in all, which would include the straight and the zigzag, in order to really have some cool project opportunities with this machine. I love this catacomb style stitch as well. And some of you hardcore quilters might have a different name for it, but that's what I'm going to call it, okay? All right, so let me get this thing adjusted. And it looks like I cut my piece way too big, so give me a second as I go ahead and reduce the size of that a little bit. I think I'll go ahead and put some more Japanese style music on. Hopefully I don't put anything too funky on. All right, bear with me. Just cutting this down a little bit. I guess I kind of prep material like a carpenter. I figure if I cut it a little bit too big, I can always cut it smaller. You know, measure twice and cut once. Well, I just cut twice, but oh well. All right, pressure foot is down. I'm making a couple adjustments, and I guess I could show you what I'm doing just so it's a benefit if you happen to have this model. So I went to the effort of lining up that shot on the needle for really no purpose at all. All right, so let's go over to these controls. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust stitch width. We're going to go ahead and move, it's an outer dial and then an inner one here. We're going to move this up to 4. And then we're going to move this inner dial. I'm going to see if I can maybe pick my catacomb one, which I think is really cool. Let's see, did I do it? Yeah, I think I got it. And then I have to flip this from the orange to the white to access that particular stitch. Matter of fact, I'll zoom in a little bit closer so you can see the way they split these stitches out on this stitch selector on top here. Come on, zoom in there, buddy. So you can see the orange one. It's that kind of like, get over to the machine here. It looks like kind of a stretch zigzag, but this catacomb one is the one that we want to sew. So that little lever on top, I'm going to basically flip it to the right. And I'll widen my shot a little bit so you can see how that's done. I think you can almost see it in the shot, sort of. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to take that and just go like this. And that's going to allow us to access the cams that are all in the white field of colors. If we flip it back the other way, we'll be accessing the ones that are in the orange color field. All right, so let's go over to the needle and we'll see what we can do with this stitch. Flip my screen around. Boy, that was a short song, wasn't it? Holy mackerel. Pick one a little bit longer, maybe. All right, let me turn this down just a little bit. All right, here we go, sewing off that decorative stitch that we just set the pattern for. Here we go. I gave it a little bit of acceleration at the end because, you know what, this machine just has a lot of kick, a lot of power to it. It's spectacular, just how much reserve power it in fact has. All right, let me go ahead and get this threaded back up again and clip my threads. Those of you that are faithful followers know that I always like to clip my threads in between. I don't like those danglers out there. Some of you, it might not even bother you. I guess it's kind of a Felix Oscar thing almost, isn't it? All right, I'm going to line it up again and do another decorative stitch, also in the white cam series as well. Let me go ahead and put that presser foot down, and I'll go ahead and adjust this over here. Let me see which one I'm going to get. The white one isn't quite as cool as the orange one. I might actually do one of the orange ones as well, but we'll do this one first. All right, bear with me for a second here. I'm off camera kind of goofing around with this. All right, so here's another one of the decorative stitches. I'm going to shorten this up just a little bit more. There we go. Bear with me for a second. It looks like my thread kind of hopped over the top of that thread guide on top. I was going to make a quick adjustment. There we go. And all you can hear is my silly spool on top kind of jiggling around a little bit because I've got a felt underneath it, but apparently it's not stabilizing it just in the right way, so this machine is pulling that thread fast enough that it's causing it to kind of do a little dance. So obviously I would change that. But here you can see that's the first stitch we did right there, and then this is the second decorative stitch right here. I think they're both gorgeous, don't you? So I'm going to do just one more. I know we've got a lot more space, but I'm going to go ahead and probably do like one more, and then we're going to do some nylon webbing as well, this stuff that you use to tow cars with. I've done that in a couple of sew-offs and got some real good feedback on it from folks that know what the stuff is and may even work with it because they have had to tow vehicles and other things like that. So, all right, let me get my take-up arm. Again, the simple rule: always turn that balance wheel towards yourself and make sure that take-up arm is at the highest position when you launch. It'll make it a lot easier for you, get a lot better outcome. All right, so what I'm going to do off camera now, remember that little lever where we can flip it from orange to white? I'm going to go ahead and flip it back to orange, and I'm going to access one more stitch. Yeah, I think I'll do this one. I like the look of that one. Well, actually, that one is pretty cool too. I'll save that one for the nylon webbing. I'll do this one next. So this is going to be another of the decorative stitches that are built in to this Kenmore. Again, unlike Craig's machine, you don't have to have cams to put into this machine. They're already engineered into the machine, which, you know what, that makes life easier, doesn't it? You don't have to search one out. Okay, so here's another decorative stitch. Here we go. And I will give us a little bit more Japanese music. Softly in the background, of course, softly. That one's kind of plain Jane, isn't it? That one doesn't really, I mean, it's interesting looking. You could almost make like a mountain range across with that one, couldn't you? So that's kind of neat. I like that one. And what I have, I didn't tell you specifically, I didn't tell you at all. The material that I'm sewing on top is a cotton polyester. And then on the bottom, I've got some buckram that I've shown you in other videos as a backer, as kind of a stiffener. You probably don't really need it because this machine does a spectacular job of feeding the material, but I thought I would put it on there anyway because it really does clarify the stitch output quite a bit. So here's the first stitch we did, the second, and then that's the one that we just executed with this Singer 158.16410, and I would love to tell you and impress you that I memorized that, but I've got a cheat sheet. because Kenmore has so many different numbers. Huh? All right, so those are the 3 decorative ones, and you know what? I think it runs in a spectacular way. I really do. It's just incredibly quiet and a quality machine. So what I have here is this nylon webbing stuff. It's basically a toe strap, and it has a tensile strength of about 2,000 pounds. I've got 1, 2, 3 layers of this stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and go through it, not with a straight stitch. I'm going to go through it with a kind of a decorative modified zigzag stitch. And I'm just going to bump up my my pressure foot pressure a little bit because we're talking about some hardcore heavy duty stuff here. Okay, and I'm also going to have to change my stitch setting. Let's see here, which one do I want? Let's see. I think that's going to give me the stitch that I want, but wait a second. I have to change one more thing. That should do it. I'm actually going to do 2 stitches on this. Let me slide that over just a little bit. All right, pressure foot is down. Let's get going. Here we go. Now you just heard it, folks. Not even a blink of an effort, and we just executed a modified zigzag on that. Not even a straight stitch where you can kind of cheat and kind of race through it. This one, it just did it blah right away. All right, so I'm going to I kind of stretched my thread across a little bit so we can run back the other way. Now I'm going to do something that's going to be a whole lot fancier, hopefully, assuming I get the setting right. All right. I think I'm going to do my catacomb on this, don't you think? So let me flip it back to the white pattern. Bear with me for a second here. There we go. All right, and let's do that really cool catacomb on here. All right, so, and I didn't even clip my threads. What is wrong with me? Clipping them off camera really quick, folks. All right, here we go. And just because of the thickness of this and the complexity of the needle swing movements, I'm not going to race through this. I probably could, but I'm not going to. All right. So you can see that in the camera without me even adjusting it. I'll kind of pull it out a little bit so you can see it, and then I'll clip my threads. But that's our kind of what I'm calling kind of a catacomb style stitch. Our modified zigzag, and then if we turn it over, you can see our lock stitch is just as clean and just as pure. That's our catacomb from the back, and then our modified zigzag up there. So the stitch quality on this machine, the exactness of it, after I went through it and made sure everything was functioning correctly, made some adjustments as far as the cam output appearance, this machine delivers a stitch which in my opinion is absolutely brag-worthy. Whether you're doing it on 3 layers of this nylon webbing stuff, see that from the front? That's crazy. That's probably like the equivalent of 14 to 16 ounces of leather as far as thickness. I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, whether you're sewing on something like this or whether you're sewing on this cotton polyester with this buckram backing, the stitch quality and the stitch appearance is just absolutely spot on. And you know what? If you're not into decorative sewing, okay, no problem. I'll toss those to the side. But remember again what our 158.16410, blah, 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 did with this 3 layers of genuine cowhide. Again, you look at it from the side, that is kooky crazy as far as what we got through and how easily this Kenmore did it. Not to mention, it also delivered a lock stitch and a top stitch that is absolutely spectacular. So again, this machine is available for sale. It's from my personal collection. I bought it from the original owner's daughter, so we know the history of this machine extremely well, and you can be confident that this machine is going to far exceed the 25-year warranty that's on the back of it. I mean, the way this machine is engineered, it's going to outlast you and me. So stay tuned for more great videos. And again, if you have an interest in this machine, reach out to me as quickly as you can. The last two machines that I presented just recently for sale, the 15125 and then also the Singer 301, they are gone. One was sold locally, the other one is going to Oklahoma. So if you have an interest in this machine after seeing how incredibly it sews a wide span of different materials and a wide variety of different stitches, then take that step forward now. Otherwise, you're gonna miss out. Okay? All right. God bless you guys. Stay tuned for other great videos like this.